In a routine and everything being monotonous, like they give you new resources and new tools how to handle parenthood.
It was nice to have them kind of guiding me. Even though I was not a first-time mom, I felt like a first-time mom.
It totally blew my mind over time. So much information that I had no idea about. You know, she was straightforward when, teaching me this stuff and answered any of my questions. It's just a really positive experience.
What I think that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her. And I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Like, even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. The fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa, porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Sí, pues es un bonito programa, porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de orientación quizás para los nuevos padres, pero creo que nos llevamos una linda sorpresa porque Gaby es una persona muy cercana a nosotros, es como parte de nuestra familia, siempre ha estado dispuesta a ayudarnos y a escucharnos con nuestras dudas sobre la
Mendocino County Planning Commission of September 5th, 2024. Today's meeting is a hybrid meeting of the Planning Commission with participants both in person and digitally. The public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.gov or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Babini.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, I'm here.
Commissioner Purnell.
Here.
Commissioner Wiedemann, absent by prearrangement. And Chair Pollen.
I am here. All right, do we have a determination of legal notice?
And legal notice has been determined on each matter on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. All right, agenda item number 3, Director's Report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. Just 2 items for you today. So the first is noting that the zoning code that you took action on in August is going to be in front of the Board of Supervisors next week on Tuesday, September 10th. And if you wish to review that full hearing packet, it's posted on our public notices page on our website. And then my second item is just a reminder to the commissioners that beginning with your first meeting in October, the time of the Planning Commission meeting will shift to 10 a.m. So just a reminder so you don't show up early. So, and it'll be on the public notices, obviously, for those meeting items. But I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the director? Okay, great. Moving on. Agenda item number 4, matters from the public. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so in person, via email, or Zoom. If any members of the public logged into the Zoom meeting wish to speak under public expression, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Do we have any requests for telecomment under public expression? Jim?
I don't have any that have been submitted.
All right. Is there anyone on Zoom with their hand raised?
No members of the public on Zoom.
All right. Is there anyone in the room that wishes to speak on public comment? All right. I will close the public expression period. All right. Agenda item number 5. This is the consent calendar. This is approval of the minutes from our August 15th, 2024 meeting. And I believe we received an updated version of those minutes yesterday. That's also posted on the website that made some corrections in terms of which commissioners were present and making particular motions. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I just had a clarification
Sure.
on that because I don't know if it's still posted this way, but oh yeah, so we've got the August 15th and then the August 15th red line.
Yes.
We're reviewing the red line?
The red line one is the one. Exactly.
Thank you. I moved to.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Bravini,
Yes.
and Chair Pollum.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, moving along. Agenda item number 6A, this is the regular calendar. This is a coastal development use permit to construct an open pavilion with a commercial kitchen, storage facilities, restrooms, and a septic system for effluent disposal. Concrete sidewalks all around, accessible parking space, improved gravel driveway and gravel parking area, pump house with well, install 2 5,000-gallon water storage tanks, electrical pole, and underground services. The project will establish a reduced riparian buffer as well. I'll now open the public hearing. Has there been any correspondence or telephone calls received on this item?
All correspondence have been posted to the public website.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I'll now ask staff for your presentation on this item.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. This is use permit 2019-0006, the Redwood Coast Wellness Center for the September 5th Planning Commission meeting, 2024. The applicant is Redwood Coast Wellness Center. The agent is Deborah Lennox. Here's the project location, an aerial photograph. I'll describe in the coastal zone, 2.1 plus minus miles northeast of the Gualala Town Center on the north side of Ocean Ridge Drive, County Road 514. 0.1 plus minus miles west of its intersection with Old Stage Road, County Road 502, located at 38381 Ocean Ridge Drive in Gualala, parcel number 144-256-13. This is some background information. Project is proposed to be constructed in 5 phases as described by the applicant as such. Phase 1, electrical pole. Phase 2, concrete slab. Phase 3, pavilion, parking and driveway and underground utilities. Phase 4, pump house and water tanks. And Phase 5, kitchen, restrooms, and septic system. The original application submitted in submittal in 2019 had requested the phased construction of a multi-use recreational facility that included the development of numerous passive and active recreational improvements, including construction of an 18-hole disc golf course, horseshoe pits, pentacue terrain, and a 4-lane outdoor lap pool, a children's splash pool, locker rooms, an indoor therapy pool, a covered multi-use pavilion, parking, utilities, and bathrooms. Since the 2019 project submittal, the Redwood Coast Wellness Center reduced their original project request, and the applicant secured biological and botanical surveys that further delayed the project's review timeline to satisfy applicable development of application procedures. Applicant statement and staff comments. The property is surrounded on its east, south, and west sides by parcels of Block 4 of the Ocean Ridge Subdivision, number 1, created in 1964. Parcels are approximately 1/3 acre in size and covered with mixed stands of redwood and pine. All except 2 parcels are developed with 1 or 2 story built single-family residences of varying size and architectural style. Visibility between the RCRC property and neighboring residences is filtered through trees except for 38-300 Old Stage Road, which overlooks part of the RCRC property and is visible from the site. On its north side, the property borders on Bower Park, a public park with a fenced-in pond, trails, children's playground, 2 outdoor tennis courts, an outdoor basketball court, a clubhouse, and parking. Ocean Ridge Airport is located approximately 1 mile northeast and includes a cluster of industrial buildings and workshops in addition to airplane hangars and airport facilities. Staff would add that the project site is located on a ridge within the coastal range and is approximately 1 mile from the Pacific Ocean. Subject parcel is covered by bishop pine and redwood forests and non-native grassland. Additionally, there are 4 ephemeral streams and a man-made pond on the property. The topography of the site is south and west facing gentle to moderate slopes that drop towards the previously mentioned man-made pond. The project site is directly adjacent to Bower Park, county-owned park. Existing amenities on the property include the man-made lake, a small stage and covered barbecue area, a bench kiosk, and 2 storage sheds. It should be noted that the only area that the proposed septic system and leach field would function properly is where it is being proposed in the Bishop Pine Forest, Isha. Here's an aerial view of the site. You can see Old Stage Road, and the Ocean Ridge Drive. And here's a site photo showing the front of it. And here's a site photo from Ocean View Drive, north. Here's a site photo from Old Stage Road. You can't really see anything, but. And here's a site plan showing the kitchen area would be here, and the driveway off frontage road. All of the required findings for this project have been made, and environmental determination and recommendation. The Planning Commission finds that the project could have a significant effect on the environment, but based on the initial study completed for the project and mitigation measures added to the conditions of approval, all potential significant impacts have been mitigated to a less than significant level. As such, a mitigated negative declaration has been adopted, and staff recommends by resolution the Planning Commission adopt a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program and grant use permit U 2019-0006 for the project based on the facts and findings and subject to the conditions of approval and mitigation measures contained in Exhibit A. That concludes my presentation. Questions? Let me know.
Thank you. Any questions for staff from commissioners? Sure, Commissioner Jones.
So I just have a little quick question. I didn't see the setbacks for this parcel, if you'd analyze that, and it looks like the kitchen's a little bit close.
What was
setbacks? Did you look at that?
Yeah.
I didn't see it in the staff report.
Hard to see on the site plan, but it did meet the setbacks. I think there's setback lines on here, but I can't really tell. I think it was 50 feet from the center of the road. But it did meet the setbacks. The only real issue would be that kitchen area, and it was okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions for any other commissioners?
I did have a question about the Bishop pine that would be impacted by the project. In the report, it indicates that information regarding the trees to be removed was not available to include in this report. And I'm just curious why not? Because if we know that there's only one location that the leach line can go, and we know exactly where that is, why don't we know how many trees will be impacted? Because if this commission is being asked to approve the project without understanding the impact, that's a hard ask, because it also relates to whether or not the 2-to-1 replacement mitigation measure is even feasible on this site. It seems like we should have a count of the trees. I just don't understand why we don't.
Yeah, that might be better answer. I don't know if the agent is here or online. I was just reading from the report, or reading the report, so I'm not really quite sure. Maybe it was the time of year they checked, or...
The agent is online. I don't know if you want me to have her come in or wait.
We can wait.
Yeah, let's just see if there's any other questions from Commission for staff.
I was mostly wondering if staff had had a chance to visit the site and might be able to weigh in based on any site visit.
Through the chair, if I may, there is an updated biological report map from September of 2020 that does show the Bishop Pine areas. That one.
The one that's up there?
Yep.
Perfect.
Oh. So this was the update. It does show some of the Bishop Pine forest areas on here. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it's the creamy brown.
I mean, I did
Oh,
see,
you're right,
I
it
did
is
see in
dark.
the staff report that I believe it's about 1/3 of an acre that'll be permanently impacted, if I recall. But again, my question is whether or not staff knows how many trees we're talking about, just because it is going to relate to the replacement ratios and whether or not that's even feasible on the site. And if you don't, that's fine, and I can ask the applicant. I just didn't know if staff had additional.
It seems like we may have to ask the applicant that question.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Babini, did you have any questions?
The only, actually it goes to Allison's question, because I was looking at the 100% replacement area and then the current septic location, and then I was trying to put that on with the biological map, and it almost looks like the replacement area was outside of that dark brown, but I wasn't sure, and I don't know why we couldn't swap that potentially and reduce the impact. If I know it's a replacement area, but if we don't have to remove the trees, maybe we could do that. I don't know, but it would be interesting to know.
I think a lot of times the issue is where a septic perks, and septics tend to perk well in treed areas and not so well in grassy areas. And that's why the trees are growing there, because there's more soil. So I don't know if they did a further analysis to figure out where a septic might.
And if I may, through the chair, Julia
Please.
Krog, Planning and Building Services Director, with any sort of leach field too, they would be required to have to designate a replacement field. So whether the primary goes into the Bishop Pine field or the replacement does, a portion of the field is going to be designated within that area regardless.
I appreciate the extra info. I saw the Isha boundary as well in here, the 100 feet, and on their site plan, it only shows a very small portion kind of to the right of the pavilion area. And I wasn't sure, because the site plan was a little busy and hard to read. It looked like there's a proposed pump house to the bottom, and I wasn't sure if that Isha line extended straight down and if that was within the Isha boundary. And so I guess I just wasn't quite sure where that Isha setback was, the 100-foot setback, just because it wasn't clear on the site plan.
I don't think that pump house is in the 100-foot boundary.
Okay.
It gets more towards the south of the septic field area.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't really see it on the site plan.
No, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I know at least with Isha, as I'm familiar with it, which is limited, especially in the coastal zone. I don't do much in the coastal zone, but you know, no structures should be within that area. So I just wanted to clarify that that was the case, that it was outside of that boundary.
And if I may, Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director, I think it's important to note with this project, there is a reduced buffer that's being supported by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, which is allowed underneath the local coastal program to reduce that 100-foot buffer from sensitive habitats to 50 feet. So that's what's being proposed with this application. So it's maintaining that 50-foot buffer.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think just to, for clarity in the future, I mean, I know WRA does great reports and they usually have really nice graphics. To just include those with the staff report, I think that would help us understand a little bit better. And I think in this case also the site plan is frankly not very legible. And I'm sure you guys were frustrated by it, and so we are also, and it's not a good record for the project either, so maybe in the future just really ask for a better site plan. Like, I literally can't even read the text. So, you know, and that just makes us, you know, a little bit uncomfortable, and it's also not a great record for the applicant in the future, should there ever become issues about their project.
I should add that there were 2 memos prepared for this project. One memo concerned the attachments, and in the attachments folder for this project, a site plan was included that does not accurately depict the actual proposal. Site plan that is included in the initial study prepared for this project does accurately depict the proposal. This site plan is attached to this memo, and then there was concern about comments from California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the memo says staff has reached out to CDFW multiple times, and these comments are attached to this email in chronological order from most recent to oldest. There also was language within the staff report detailing the comments from CDFW. Language is also included in the memo. Read those into the record.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the commission for staff?
I have one more question.
Please.
Is there any kind of privacy fencing between the residential properties and the kitchen area existing?
I don't know, but I would think there would be, just based on property owners and fencing. Most people do put privacy fencing up, but I don't know if there is technically.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right. I'll invite the applicant to speak now. Do we have the applicant on the phone or here in person?
Hi, this is Deborah. This is Deborah Lennox. I'm the applicant, and I have some answers to some of the questions that the commissioners have. I want to thank Keith for his thorough staff report, and he did that substitution of the plot plan. I've taken this project over from a previous architect, and the scope of the project has been greatly downsized, particularly impacted by the Ishas that were brought in the middle of the project. So we've been working really hard to keep as much of our proposed development out of any areas that would be impacting the Bishop Pine Forest and especially the other plants on the property. I've met with Jennifer Garrison and Steve Seiler back in the beginning of the year to take a walk to update the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's observations of the property. That was with Rhiannon from WRA. And I have to say that my clients, the RCRC board, have been diligent in already removing invasive species around the property and trying to make it encourage the growth of anything that might be considered sensitive. So they're very aware of all of the environmental concerns that the county and the public might have, and have already been working towards getting this property to be a really beautiful natural place. First to address Marie's question about the site plan, I've submitted several plot plans. The full-size 24 by 36 plans have multiple detail plot plans at different scales, so I'll be sure to submit a blown up detail at a larger scale in the next submittal packet I have for the building permits. And therefore you'll be able to see the development much clearer that way. But it is in the packet, it just didn't get into the electronic report. So if there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer that. So then back to the idea about the septic system, which was the first question I had flagged. The septic system hasn't been fully designed. Ritterman and Associates had designed a much larger septic system for the previous scope, which was a swimming pool building. So that it was a swimming pool building and parking lots and all kinds of things. You could see actually that was the plot plan that was attached to the original staff report. And in the process of downsizing that, they went back out and then downsized the septic system once again, as well as it is called out in writing on the plot plan that it's a highline system. So even though the exact location of every leach line isn't defined, it's going to be a lesser impact leach field. It's not going to be excavated because raised mound systems are above ground, and then they pile the dirt on top of it. But probably the biggest impact would be the trenches from the pavilion to the leach field. And in that case, they would want to go around as many trees as possible. They're very aware of the need to encourage the Bishop Pine Forest. And so I'd be happy to answer questions about that as well. This is also phase 4, which is way down the line on the priorities, particularly because of funding. This is a nonprofit. They do their fundraising in order to do this process. They've already spent quite a bit of their fundraising money on getting this far in the process. And the septic system is going to be a really big reach for them. So they're not sure when they're going to get to that part. And therefore we decided to wait to do the actual septic design when we were closer to realization of submitting for a permit. And we discussed this with Jennifer Garrison on site. We showed her the areas that were indicated on the plan by Ritterman and Associates where the leach fields may be located. And you could kind of see a couple of clearings here and there. So she gave her blessing to the fact that this was not going to be an impact on the Bishop Pine Forest. And I believe that's part of her comments that she submitted back to the county, as well as WRA did a report of compliance that addressed this issue. And also their initial biological survey discussed all of these concerns about the septic system have been something that were very thoughtfully considered by everyone that's looked at this project so far. Let's see. Should I ask anybody if anybody has any questions on what I just said, or should I just keep going?
I think you just keep going.
Okay. Let's see. The other thing is the privacy fencing. I believe so. This site is, I believe originally it was zoned in order to have maybe even a golf course in the middle with private residences around. So it's completely surrounded by private parcels. Each of the parcels has done their own concept of privacy fencing. So the nonprofit hasn't discussed with me any kind of plan for doing any, official fencing, but each resident has kind of done their own concept. And a lot of them have planted little landscaping elements along the edge too. So keeping the edge soft as opposed to having hard fence all the way around the property is, it goes with the concept of blending in with the community and also keeping the feeling of the forest as a forest. At this point, I think Keith has touched on just about everything there. The pump house was, it's, by the last submittal, this is the correct site plot plan. We did move the pump house up to be near the storage tanks because we've had a discussion. There's an electrical pole we're proposing down by the driveway entrance, and then we were going to trench up to the well and build a pump house there and then put electrical service to that pump house. But after further discussion, it made more sense to put the first electrical drop up to the pump house closer to the water tanks and use that same structure to pressurize the water tanks for when they're ready to use it versus having to put in another pump house or have a further reach for that piece of equipment to function better. So we did put the pump house up by the water tanks. Everything is as far from the forest as we could get. That one area where the pavilion is located is the one place on the entire WRA map that has no impact and no plants of concern. So we tried to keep any kind of built environment up in that area. The driveway is going to be gravel, so it'll be permeable.
Hey, Deborah, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Can you let me know how big the pavilion is? Like, how many square feet is it?
Oh, yeah, hang on. Do you mean just the pavilion or the pavilion and the
kitchen?
The kitchen. So the pavilion is 1,500 square feet. The kitchen is 420 square feet. There's 240 square foot of storage and 128 square foot of restrooms.
So basically a little over 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It just, I was confused about it because on the site plan, it looks like a bigger building than that, but maybe it's, I guess it must be drawn to scale. Like comparing it to the parcels, almost a quarter of the size of one of the parcels that are adjacent. So just
I really apologize for the plot plan snafu because I have a really nice one I'm looking at here that I sent to CAL FIRE, and it's much all of the development is very tiny on here. But if you can see the square of the pavilion building, I've got 3 lines across it, and so 2 of the lines on the left are the open pavilion, and the segment to the right are the enclosed kitchen, bathroom, and storage, and that's going to be a later phase.
So the kitchen is in the middle and there's pavilion open on either side? Is that what you just said?
No, the pavilion is on the west side.
West side.
The 2
okay.
segments are pavilion, and then the kitchen is on the east side, closest to the property line.
Cool. That will help with noise.
Yeah. There is already a existing, you see the edges of the trees there? There's an existing buffer of vegetation between the pavilion itself and the back of the property lines there.
Has the replacement area for the Bishop Pine for that 2-to-1 mitigation measure, has that area been identified?
Yeah, so if you can scroll your screen over to the left, you see they're both there. So you see where it says Highline Leach Field with the dotted lines around it?
Yes.
That's the one we're proposing to build first, and then the replacement area is just above that.
And you're speaking about the leach line replacement area?
I was talking to Marie about the pavilion, but I know you had questions about the septic system. So
I'm asking about the Bishop Pine 2-to-1 replacement area.
Oh, I see. So yeah, so when there are trees identified that will need to be removed in order to facilitate the construction of the leach line, if one tree is removed, 2 trees are planted. And I just want to reiterate that the clients are very mindful of this, and they've already been good stewards, and they'll definitely be happy to plant 2 trees for every one that gets taken out. There's also requirements in the conditions of approval for nurturing the trees ahead of time and then replacing them if they die. So WRA did a very thorough job of getting the conditions of approval clearly spelled out for this project.
And has that replacement area been identified?
Yes, because those are, as Marie said, they do what are called perk tests, and they only were able to get a good perk in those areas. And so that.
No, Deborah, she's
that-
asking the location for where the new trees would be planted, not the leach field.
Well, we don't know which trees need to come out. I mean, at that point, this is years down the road, so I understand your concern about approving this now without knowing exactly which trees, but by the time we get there, the trees will have changed. So, no, it has not been defined exactly which trees come out and where to put replacement, but we did look at areas that had less trees in a cluster while we were there with Jennifer, and it wasn't clear whether those were going to be a better location for portions of the leach field or they were going to be good locations for planting new trees. But either way, Jennifer and Rhiannon were in a big conversation about how to nurture the Bishop Pine Forest.
And
Thank you.
If I may, Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director, I'll just note that the Bio 3 Condition 16 is the one in the staff report that speaks to this, and it talks about replacement, including potentially natural regeneration and then possible supplemental plantings if necessary, because you'll get these natural recruits that are coming in underneath the Bishop Pine Forest. So either ensuring that those grow to fruition or that you supplement with additional plantings. So that we see this pretty often with Bishop Pine Forest, where you do have those natural recruits, and often we approve monitoring those and ensuring that they actually grow to a fuller size as your replacement trees.
Oh, thank you, Julia. That reminds me that was something that Rhiannon and Jennifer were discussing. They were pointing out there were babies coming up. So she was saying, well, here comes one that might be a good viable one. And I don't know if I have a couple of my clients are on this call on, particularly Donna has been out in the field nurturing all the plants, and she could probably tell you how many new baby trees are coming up. But I do know that that's something that Jennifer had suggested as a mitigation, was that, hey, you got babies coming up and you can nurture these, and so that was part of the conversation.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Excuse me. I'll now accept public comment on this item. When called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to the meeting chair and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or staff. First, do we have anyone on Zoom with their hand raised who wants to speak on this?
There are no, oh, we just got a hand raised.
Okay. All right, go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for taking this comment. Chairman, I apologize, I was unable to see your name tag, and so please allow me to proceed without naming you specifically. My name is Dave Spock. I live in the neighborhood. I have for over about 15 years now. Served previously about a year on the Redwood Coast Recreation Center Board of Directors in 2009, 2010. I also am a member of the Wallala Municipal Advisory Council, and am also a director on the Board of Directors for Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District. I'm not authorized today to speak on behalf of those two organizations. However, I'm going to offer some perspective as a participant, both as a neighbor and involved in public process. For the record, the Wallala Municipal Advisory Council did consider this proposal in public meeting on February 2nd, 2023, and this is after the update was submitted. The minutes for that meeting reflect that the GMAC unanimously supported this proposal, which was pretty much what you're seeing in front of you today. That detail was somehow omitted from this staff report. I also want to mention that Redwood Coast Recreation Center at this site has become a very important partner in delivering recreational services to meet unmet needs in the South Coast. And this, I define South Coast as essentially Manchester down to the Walla River, but also including people who live in the Sea Ranch and northern Sonoma County. Our impression in working with Redwood Coast Recreation Center and working at this site is that it is extraordinarily well kept, very mindfully sustained, very sensitive to care for interface with surrounding residents and the neighborhood. The site really is an example of native landscaping stewardship, and the programming at the site absolutely aligns with that sustainable approach to both sensitive habitat and also appropriate scale in this neighborhood setting. We're, as a board member at Mendocino Coast Recreation District, we're really excited to continue working with RCRC at this site. And the proposal provides an excellent platform to expand, again, within appropriate scale, recreational offerings to the South Coast. While it's a small community, people interact constantly. And the history at this site is one of stewardship, one of extraordinary sensitivity to the neighborhood,
Mr. Spat,
to surrounding.
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Your time is up. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thanks for allowing them.
Welcome. Anyone else on Zoom?
There are no other members of the public with their hand raised.
All right. Is anyone here in the audience wishing to speak on this item? All right. Seeing none, then I will close the public comment period. Staff, do you have any final remarks?
No final remarks.
Any final remarks from the applicant?
No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, members of the commission, any final questions for the staff or the applicant? All right, I will then close the public hearing. The matter is now before the commission. I would invite a motion from the commission.
Before we make a motion, can we have discussion?
Sure.
Okay, great.
What do you want to say?
The only thing that I wanted to say is I'm a little concerned that we don't have clarity that there is actually fencing between the kitchen area and the adjacent property. If there was, I would not be inclined to want to add a special condition. It's on, but I'm not talking enough into it.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I will start over. So I wish that I had clarity that there was a fence located between the kitchen area and the parking that's adjacent to the kitchen and the adjacent to private parcels. And since that clarity isn't there, perhaps we could add a special condition that the applicant would be obligated to provide 6-foot-high privacy fencing just for those two parcels to reduce the impacts. The cars coming into park at night could have their lights shining into the neighbors' homes. And if that fencing exists on the private properties, then they wouldn't be obligated to put in the fencing. It's just a way of reducing impacts. I mean, a large kitchen area with a big pavilion is going to be super noisy, but at least you could reduce that impact a little bit with a privacy fencing.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion from any other commissioners?
To Commissioner Jones's point, I'm looking at the aerial image of that side of the property, and to the applicant's point, it does look highly vegetated, and so the only issue I would have with putting that on as a condition would be how the fence would follow along the property line without disrupting the vegetation that's currently there. I think you could probably put like some in there, but if there's already trees along it, you might have to like fence tree.
They have a 30-foot buffer. I'm sure they can find an area to put a fence in somewhere in that 30-foot setback.
Any other separate discussion items?
I just wanted to note that I'm definitely supportive of the project. I know how these recreation facilities and small communities are incredible community assets. I wish that this commission had been presented with better evidence about what the specific impacts to the Bishop Pine would be, and also more specific information about where the 2-to-1 mitigation planting would take place. I do feel like that's missing information. I don't feel that we have evidence that the site will even support that, but in the interest of seeing this project move forward, I'm going to defer to Fish and Wildlife on this and to their biologists' expertise, who seem to be confident that that's available. But I would hope that in future applications that evidence would be presented to the commission to make our decision making easier.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Babini, do you have any discussion points?
I don't have anything further, thank you.
Okay. To your point, Commissioner Jones, should we see if staff can make some quick revisions to the conditions and come back to present that to us and see if that meets your needs for the privacy fencing?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty simple thing to add.
And I think we just would want to confirm with the commission that we have a majority that wants to see that condition before we take that time. I see 3. Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
And could we get a quick restatement of that condition?
In the event that there's no property line fencing between the 2 parcels that are east of the kitchen area and the parking area, the applicant shall install a 6-foot-high privacy fence between the kitchen area and the parking area and the property line.
If I might, I was thinking prior to final project approval, the permit holder shall construct a 6-foot-tall privacy fence between the kitchen and 2 properties to the
Yeah, kitchen and parking area. I think there's also a parking area that's just south of the kitchen that could also be super annoying to people.
So I think if the commission could give us maybe a 10-minute break, and we'll come back.
Okay.
We love a break.
Yeah, we love breaks. All right, we will resume at 10:24.
Más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades.
Well, I was a new mom and I had no experience taking care of a newborn.
There isn't like a book on how to raise a kid.
We come from like a lot of family history of, drugs, violence, alcoholism, so we didn't want our daughter to experience any of that.
The thought that a parent was supposed to be loving, nurturing, supposed to be there for their kid, provide food, shelter, joy, and going in, becoming a parent for her, I had no clue how to provide that.
Cómo pensar educarla, ajá. Cómo educar a un hijo porque pues nosotros nunca, es la primera vez que íbamos a ser padres.
What I think parents should know about home visiting is that you can learn a lot of new things and tips and tricks, how to take care of the baby and what to do, and if you're, stuck in a routine and everything being monotonous, like they give you new resources and new tools how to handle parenthood.
It was nice to have them kind of guiding me, even though I was not a first-time mom. I felt like a first-time mom.
It totally blew my mind over time. So much information that I had no idea about. She was straightforward when, teaching me this stuff and answered any of my questions. Just a really positive experience.
What I think that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her. And I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, you know, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, you know, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, you know, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Like, even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You know, you get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. The fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Sí, pues es algo, un bonito programa, porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de orientación quizás para los nuevos padres, pero creo que nos llevamos una linda sorpresa porque Gaby es una persona muy cercana a nosotros, es como parte de nuestra familia, siempre ha estado dispuesta a ayudarnos y a escucharnos con nuestras dudas sobre la paternidad y en nuestro caso que estamos solos en este país ha sido como de mucha ayuda.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Te ayuda como a ver los distintos recursos que tiene la comunidad para nuevos papás, entonces creo que es de gran ayuda.
No queda mucho que agregar, pero lo veo de la misma forma.
Que hemos aprendido algunas cosas aquí y pues los han ayudado, como este programa los ha ayudado para seguir creciendo a la bebé, como con buenos consejos y así.
Sí, y creo que también ha sido muy importante el tema de apoyarnos con el libro y saber qué actividades hacer con Máximo de acuerdo a su edad, cómo estimularlo, cómo cuidarlo de los peligros de la casa, como cosas que uno como papá nuevo no conoce, claro.
Pues a mí me gustaría que lo siguiéramos visitando aquí en la biblioteca de Covelo. Está tranquilo y muy bonito aquí.
Cuando no nos podemos reunir, nos comunicamos por Zoom o una llamada telefónica o por texto.
Donde nos visite, porque ha sido nuestra casa, a veces nosotros vamos a Wellits y puede ser en el parque. Gaby llega, hacemos un resumen de cómo ha ido nuestra semana o qué hemos hecho de nuevo, cómo va el trabajo. Luego hacemos las actividades del libro. Vemos si podemos hacer un juguetito nuevo para Máximo, a veces ella lo evalúa, cómo está su sentido motriz, qué ha aprendido de nuevo, nuevas palabras, y jugamos un ratito y conversamos.
A mí personalmente también me ayudó mucho a obtener mi licencia a conducir, que era un objetivo que teníamos en cuanto a la familia,
sí.
para poder estar tranquilos, así que encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
El objetivo del programa es que las familias estén bien, y que las familias estén bien significan niños felices, niños sanos, y eso en un futuro es adultos sanos y un mundo mejor. Entonces está bueno.
She has made me feel like I'm important and I can go at my own pace, and that's all you need sometimes when you're feeling like you got nobody.
It was helpful to have somebody there kind of holding my hand and guiding me and letting me know this is kind of the normal. It felt like I was becoming a new mom, so it was very interesting and helpful, very, very helpful.
You know, there was that self-conscious part of me, like, will I be accepted even though I'm not perfect?
What I like the most is that she really listens.
The support that she gives me is special because she does it with love, and it's just natural, you know? That's all I could say. It just feels like somebody that I've known since I was little.
Back online. Great, thanks. All right, could we see the revised conditions from staff, please?
Maybe.
Keep going.
How's that? Okay. All right, so condition 36 has been added. If no view obscuring fencing exists between the kitchen and parking areas of the project and the residential lots to the east, the applicant shall install a 6-foot-high view obscuring fence prior to final inspection of building permits for kitchen and/or parking areas. Adequate?
All right.
And Chair Paul and I would just suggest checking with the applicant if they have any concerns with that condition.
Is the applicant still on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm still here.
Great.
Great. Yeah, we can work with this. I just wanted to qualify this, that the board would like to discuss with the neighbors how they feel about it, but they'll do the fencing if the commission requires it. And then the question is, when does this need to be put up? Because we have different phases. So you're saying that you want it to be put up before the kitchen is finalized?
That's how it reads. That's how it reads currently.
Because that makes sense. That's when the use would increase. So they're fine with that?
Okay, great. All right, we're seeing nodding all around the room. All right, any other questions or comments about any conditions or any other issues here? All right, well then I will entertain a motion this time.
So I'd like to move that we approve use permit 2019-006, subject to the special conditions and standards in the resolution, including the additional special condition regarding the fence.
Great.
And adopt the mitigated negative declaration.
Oh, we're getting it. We're so good. All right.
Second that.
And we have a second. All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Babini.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell?
Yes.
Chair Pollen?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome. All right, moving on. Item 6B, coastal development use permit to construct a new 100-foot tall cellular antenna tower with a eucalyptus tree design. Install three arrays of antennas for 3 wireless carriers along with associated tower and ground equipment, including 1 emergency electricity generator per each co-locator carrier. Additional work includes the installation of 400 feet of underground utilities. All equipment will be placed on concrete pads and located within a fenced 2,500 square foot lease area, which is located within a total telespan lease area of 4,900 square feet at the base of the tower. I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Clerk, has there been any correspondence or telephone calls received?
All correspondence have been posted to the public website.
Thank you very much. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you. So this is use permit 2023-0005, Telespan Communications for the September 5th, 2024 Planning
Keith, can you
Commission.
make sure that you stay close enough to the mic? You're kind of cutting in and out. We can hear you, but people online can't.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
The Manchester Cell Tower use permit application. Applicant is Telespan Communications. The agent is Tim Cotter. And the project location and aerial photograph. Project is in the coastal zone 2.4 plus minus miles north of Manchester, lying on the east side of State Route 1, 0.92 plus minus miles north of its intersection with Alder Creek Beach Road, County Road 515, located at 16401 South Highway 1, Manchester, parcel number 132-180-18. And here's a site photo from State Route 1 looking south. This is the access road here off to the right, the left. And the background information, coastal development permit, use permit to construct a new 100-foot tall cellular antenna tower with a faux eucalyptus tree type design. Install 3 arrays of antennas for 3 wireless carriers along with associated tower and ground equipment, including 1 emergency generator per each co-locator/carrier. Additional work includes the installation of 400 feet of underground utilities. All equipment will be placed on concrete pads and located within a fenced 2,500 square foot lease area, which is located within a total telespan lease area of 4,900 square feet at the base of the tower. The applicant's original statement was install 125-foot tall monopine cell tower inside a 50-foot by 50-foot fenced area with access gate. Install underground utilities to point of connection about 430 feet of underground utilities. Install associated underground utility equipment. Install 3 arrays of antennas for 3 wireless carriers along with associated tower and ground mounted equipment. And install 1 generator per co-locator carrier. And then when the applicant and staff were discussing the tower, they amended their statement to say, we move the location of the site to be nestled closer amongst the existing 70-foot tall eucalyptus trees. By moving the site closer, it creates a more acute angle of view along the highway so that the tower doesn't silhouette as it did before. And from the limited angles where it can be seen, it would be much less time as people travel along the highway. We reduce the height from 125 feet to 100 feet. To accommodate 3 wireless carriers on the tower, we need plus minus 35-foot height advantage over adjacent foliage, adjacent 70-foot eucalyptus. We changed the tree type from a faux pine to a faux eucalyptus to match the trees it is now nestled amongst. And as mentioned above, this design will still be able to accommodate all 3 wireless carriers. And some other information, the applicant has indicated that the existing agricultural uses on the property consist primarily of cattle grazing. Project was referred to the Resource Lands Protection Committee for review of Williamson Act compatibility, and the committee responded in support of the proposed tower. The topography of the parcel and surrounding area features gently rolling slopes with the tower facility located on a relatively flat area just to the northwest of the existing residences and within a stand of eucalyptus and cypress trees. The northern and eastern portions of the property consist of open areas with limited vegetation. There appears to be a seasonal but unnamed drainage feature along the southern property line. State Route 1 to the west features tall trees consisting of a combination of cypress and eucalyptus along the easterly side of the highway, which limits visibility to the property and the proposed tower. Project site features 2 existing single-family residences and multiple barn structures, and are located approximately 172 plus minus feet and 254 plus minus feet to the southeast. Excuse me. The wireless facility will remain an unmanned facility that will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is secured with a 6-foot-high chain link fence around the perimeter. According to the applicant, the project will provide additional cellular phone service to nearby residents and the State Route 1 corridor. Some background on this. A previous application, use permit 2017-0036 for AT&T, was heard by the Planning Commission on May 16th, 2019. At that time, the applicant proposed construction of an 80-foot tall monopine at 44601 Kinney Road in Manchester, approximately 2.08 miles to the southwest. At that time, staff had recommended denial of the monopine application to the Planning Commission due to concerns regarding lack of appropriate biological botanical surveys to support the project and potential visual impacts. The Planning Commission continued the application to a date uncertain to allow the applicant to provide a revised proposal for a wireless communication facility at this location. The applicant consulted with county staff and the California Coastal Commission regarding the visual concerns and submitted a revised design consisting of a 76-foot tall water tower. The applicant also performed updated surveys and circulated those studies to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Coastal Commission, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and Sonoma-Mendocino Coast District of the California Department of Parks and Recreation for review and concurrence. Ultimately, the Planning Commission voted 4-0 to deny the coastal development use permit. Here's an aerial view of the site. It's not a very good aerial, but 2 barns, 3 sheds. Here's the houses, covered storage, and then the proposed tower location. Here's a faux eucalyptus tree design, representative of what they wanted put in there. And here's the proposed elevations. This shows the 3 levels of antennas, or the 3 arrays from top to middle. And here's some photo simulations. This is doesn't really show the tower. Shows where it will. This has a GPS drone that shows where the height would be. Here's another, this one shows the tower is closer up to where the project location is. Here's another, even closer, but then it shows that the tower is not really visible from this distance. And here's looking north, same situation. You can see the tower on the lower photo above the tree line. And a little bit closer, same situation, the tower's off in the distance. And I put this together to show adjacent cell tower sites. I believe this project is here, and I think this one was about a mile away up to the northeast. And I'm not sure the distance between the one on Kinney Road, but the one down here, I think this was 6 miles southeast. And these are coverage maps. I couldn't really explain them to you, but maybe the applicant, the agent can. This is AT&T. This is T-Mobile. And this is Verizon. And all of the required findings for this project have been made. And final comments and recommendation. Staff has completed an initial study for the proposed project in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and determined that the project would not have potential significant impacts on the environment. As discussed in the initial study, the proposed project could result in some impacts, however, these were considered to be less than significant. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a negative declaration for the project. By resolution, adopt a negative declaration and grant Coastal Development Use Permit U 2023-0005 for the project based on the facts and findings and subject to the conditions of approval contained in the resolution and Exhibit A. And that concludes my presentation. Oh, sorry, one more thing, the memo. In response to staff concerns about the tower height and design, the applicant revised the project by reducing the tower height to 100 feet, proposing a eucalyptus type design and moving the location closer to an existing stand of eucalyptus trees to provide additional camouflage and visual screening. However, the published staff report erroneously included the original plans as reference. The updated and current plans and photo simulations are attached to this memo, and additionally, staff proposes a slight change in the language of Condition 8 to read, proposed antenna arrays shall not exceed the width of the existing array or arrays or extend beyond the limits of the faux foliage, and a minor correction to Condition 19, which should read, an archaeological instead of tribal monitor shall be present during any ground disturbing activities.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners for staff?
Where's have one?
Go, please, Commissioner Jones.
Sorry, I'm so thorough, but I was wondering why you decided not to do a biological study for this project, given the nearby creek, or not to require one.
Lost my train of thought. At CDFW, I think they commented that didn't need a biological survey.
Just because it's an already developed farm area, or?
Yeah, it's used for grazing and the vegetation is pretty minimal for the development.
If I may,
Yes,
Julia
please.
Krog, Planning Building Services Director. There was actually a biological survey completed for the project. It's noted in the staff report and talked about the vegetation alliances that were present there, and then also that there was a wetland delineation completed for water courses as well. So that the results are discussed and conditions were added, I think 14 through 17, to address biological resources.
I was looking in the MND and didn't see a discussion of it, so maybe it just didn't end up in the MND. Sorry.
It's all right. Any other questions?
A clarifying question. At the beginning of the staff report, it indicates that the parcel size, I think it's 12 point something acres. Does that sound right? And then when we get to page 17 of the staff report, which is the coastal zone application form, it's indicating 10.5 square feet parcel size. I'm guessing that needs to instead read acres, but I'm also curious about that discrepancy between the 12 point whatever acres and the 10.5.
So the county GIS shows that it's 10.5 acres.
If I can note, the county GIS system is basing it off of the shapefile, so it's not necessarily the most accurate depiction. So the 12.5 acres, is the more accurate number.
Okay, and I've definitely seen plenty of discrepancies in acreage depending on where parcel data is coming from. It's not a hang up for me. I was just wondering if we had any more info on that. And then also, it seems like probably that coastal zone application should be modified to be 10.5 acres.
Okay. Any other, Commissioner Babini, questions?
I just had a quick question on the photo simulations. One, because I'm blind, so it's hard for me to actually see once you had them up there and I was looking at the ones that were in the staff report, the photo simulations stated that it was the monopine, and so I wasn't clear if those simulations were from the previous submittal for the 125 feet and farther away from the current eucalyptus tree, so I wasn't sure if visually when we're looking at it, if those simulations were from before, would the tower actually be shorter than it was showing in those simulations, or is that the 100 feet?
The staff memo that was posted for
Yeah.
the item shows the correct photo simulations for the project with the height as proposed.
Okay. Clicked on the wrong memo. Thank you.
Can I ask another dumb question?
Please.
I don't know how high this is beached up above the beach here, but is this visible at all from the public beach, which is considered a public right-of-way, not just Highway 1?
No, it is not.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, the topography and the existing vegetation obscure it. Yeah.
I just had a quick question, why the red line changed from a tribal monitor to an archaeological monitor?
I think that better reflects what needs to be, who needs to be there instead of I'm not really sure.
If I may, through the chair, that was
Please.
the actual language from the Art Commission meeting, so the tribal monitor was not correct. They requested an ARC monitor specifically.
Okay, great, thank you.
Maybe because they didn't do an ARC study?
I don't know. All right, any further questions for staff before we take it to the applicant?
Oh, I have one last question. Did you approach the applicant about possibly doing co-location, or is that just off the table with the AT&T antenna?
Well, there is provisions for 3 separate carriers on the one tower, so there are co-location opportunities already built into it.
And if I may, the applicant, they demonstrated in their materials that the co-location opportunities that would be available in lieu of building a new tower were not feasible for serving this demographic area.
When I look at the, yeah, that's fine. I just don't really see that the cute little ones with the buttons, that there's really much difference between the various cell tower provisions of coverage. I just didn't see that, but maybe the applicant can clarify that for us.
All right, should we take it to the applicant and see? All right, do we have the applicant with us? Please state your name for the record.
Telespan Communications, I'm the applicant. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I've written down all the points of clarification. I'll try to address them. They may be out of order. I think it's important to, first of all, thank you very much to staff. I thought the report was excellent, and I thought Keith's narrative was very thorough. We were not associated with the project from 2017. That was an AT&T project that was down by the cable station further south. But we were able to learn from that project, including taking a look at their alternative site analysis and seeing whether or not we could leverage off of that and maybe use some of those sites. So there was a large body of work that had already been completed before we started pursuing our project. What Telespan does is we're not a carrier. We're a neutral co-location company. So our sites are designed ground up to be used for co-location. We do drive testing where we measure the signal strength of all the carriers. And then we plot a location for a site that we feel as though all the carriers can improve their signal from that single coordinated location. That's our mission statement. We have success in this county. Last time I was in this room, excuse me, was for a site that we built in Wallala on Big Gulch Road. The commission voted in favor unanimously. And when I was speaking to the commission at that time, we had 1 tenant. Before we finished construction, we had 2. And as of now, all 3 carriers are located on that site, so it's a very successful model. AT&T has already committed to be our anchor tenant at this location. And I can't speak for Verizon or T-Mobile, but they're both my clients, and I expect them to be interested in the site. The modeling that you saw, very difficult to interpret those little dots that you were talking about, but basically, you can break coverage into kind of 3 levels. There's exterior coverage outside your house. There's coverage that is inside the house that's usable for certain things. And then there's rich coverage where it's inside the house. There's good data throughput. There's good voice. And what this site really accomplishes is it, for all three carriers, it'll provide approximately 10 miles of improved coverage along Highway 1, picking up at the north end of Point Arena through Manchester, all the way through Irish Beach to the south end of Elk. So about approximately plus or minus 10 miles. It will actually do a very good job serving inside the residences, most of the residences in Irish Beach, and it will provide usable coverage inside the residences in South Elk. So let me pause there. So does everybody understand like who Telespan is and what we do and how we derived? Okay. One thing that didn't get mentioned is, and I've never seen anything like this in 35 years of building sites, but there were 34 letters of public support posted, and I had nothing to do with it. It was just organic from the community speaking up saying that they would like to have this service. Keith mentioned that there was a site, a project, an existing cell site approximately a mile to the northeast. That isn't actually accurate. There isn't a cell site a mile to the northeast. There was, at one point, AT&T was looking at a site to the northeast. The closest existing site is approximately 6 miles to the south, and it just does not provide coverage into the area that this site would target to serve. It was already answered, but a full biological study was done. Also, a full archaeological study was done. I heard kind of a quiet comment that maybe an archaeological study hadn't been done, but there was, and that's what was presented at the archaeological committee meeting, where the archaeological monitor was requested, not a tribal monitor, so that's the nature of that correction. It is not visible from the beach, but Julia answered that already. And I think that's all the clarifications. Is there anything else that I can add or answer?
Any questions from any of the commissioners for the applicant? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll now invite public comment on this item. The commission will start with public comments in the room, and then we'll hear from telecommenters that are connected virtually via Zoom. Do we have anyone in the room that wishes to speak on this item? Great. Let me read you my little spiel here then. When called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to the meeting chair and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or staff.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jared Kersley, and I'm on behalf of AT&T. That's who I represent here. I was actually the agent who represented them on the Manchester cable station that you guys ultimately denied. Of course, we chose not to appeal that project. We heard you guys loud and clear. We then put boots back on the ground and, of course, found the Telespan that they had lease rights on a property that would actually work for AT&T's coverage objectives for this area. It was right in the middle of that proposed site that ended up failing as well for real estate reasons. That was on that map earlier, and then the Manchester cable station. So it's more smack dab in the middle, and will provide the coverage to Highway 1 and the residents along that Manchester area and to the Irish Beach area. So we are here to support the project, of course, as the anchor tenant of the Telespan Tower. And other than that, I have nothing to add. If there's any questions I could answer on behalf of AT&T, I'd be happy to.
Thank you very much. Any questions for AT&T? Why do I have to pay so much every month? Never mind. All right. Do we have anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? Okay. Do we have any hands raised on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on Zoom.
All right, then. I will close the public comment for this then. Let's see. Do we have any final remarks from staff?
No final remarks.
All right.
Sorry about that biological survey.
It's all right. Any final remarks from the applicant? Great. Thank you very much. All right. I will now close the public hearing. And is there any discussion on this item? I'll just say I'm really glad this is not a giant faux water tower next to the beach. All right. I will invite a motion on this item.
To take it?
Oh, I guess so. Dana Wiederman asked me to try and pressure to have this saved for when she could attend because she had a medical issue, but so I guess I am speaking. But after looking at the visuals and seeing that it is at least on the east side of the road, and there was some attempt, and appreciate staff's reach out to reduce the size of it and to change the style, I feel like it's probably as good as we're going to get. So I would like to go ahead and make a motion. Sorry for the long preamble. But
I'll just note for the commissioners, the recommended action or motion is now on page 1 of the staff report.
Oh, you are glorious. Thank you.
So considerate.
Is that the redlined one? Because I saw there was a redlined one on here for the resolution.
So I would, are you considering that the request?
No, it's the recommendation at the bottom of page 1. You'll see it says recommendation on the staff report, page 1, page 3 of the PDF, sorry.
So I would recommend by resolution that the Planning Commission adopt the negative declaration and grant coastal development use permit U 2023-0005 for the project based on all the facts, findings, and subject to the special conditions of approval as modified by the memo and in the attached resolution in Exhibit A.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Babini.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell.
Yes.
Chair Pollan.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
I love that, Julia. Thank you.
We heard you at a last, I can't remember which commissioner brought up to move the recommended action up, but I think it's helpful. So now you can find it on page 1 always.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Then the next item is agenda item number 7, matters from staff. Any matters from staff today?
No matters from staff.
All right. Any matters from the commission today? All right. Well then, I will invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. See you all in 2 weeks.